For 2025, I've decided to challenge myself to read as many books off of my own TBR shelves as I possibly can. I thought maybe some of you might like to join me in this endeavor, so come along while I share the details of my 2025 Read Your Bookshelves Challenge. Hello book friends, I'm Jen and welcome to my reading life and welcome to the 2025 Read Your Bookshelves Challenge. I know there are other booktubers who are doing similar challenges or have done similar challenges in the past, but it has been a goal of mine for a number of years now to try and read as many books off of my shelves as I can because there are so many. This just scratches the surface, what you can see right here. So I, this year, challenged myself not only to participate in the TBR 24 in 24 challenge, but also to try to read an additional 50 books off of my unread shelf. So those were 50 books that I had acquired prior to January 1st of 2024. And I managed to hit that goal, and I'm going to have a wrap-up video of all the books I read off of my unread shelves in just a couple of weeks. But I did accomplish my goal, so that was fantastic. But I want to push myself even a little bit harder next year. So I'm making the parameters a little bit tighter and I'm giving myself some challenges to try to stick to. We will see how this goes because some of them are about book buying, some of them are about library books. Not 100% sure how well I will do with this challenge, but I thought if some of you wanted to join me, that might be a little bit of added motivation. We could keep each other accountable, and I could do both monthly and then maybe quarterly check-ins as well, and we could all share how we're doing on our Read the Shelves challenge. And yes, I hope this is going to be a really fun challenge. The one thing I do know is that I have so many wonderful books on my shelves just waiting for me to pull them off and read them. And I feel like 2025 might be the year when I can tackle a good chunk of those. Now, for the Read Your Bookshelves challenge, I think the best way to do it is whatever way works for you. If it's you're going to read one book off your shelf and then one book from the library, or if you're going to read 3 books off your shelf and then buy yourself a new book, whatever the parameters are, you can make this challenge whatever you think is going to work best for you. You want to just stick to trying to read 25 books for 2025 off of your unread shelf? That's fantastic. Or maybe you don't have hardly any books on your unread shelf. Please tell me how you do that because I don't know what that is. I love to have lots of books around me. But if you do have just a small amount, maybe your goal is to read all of those books in 2025. I really think you can cater this challenge to meet whatever your personal reading goals are. I heard a quote not too long ago about the unread books people have on their shelves and how they look at them in their own personal library. And there's sort of one of two ways of looking at it. One, you look at your unread books as a to-do list, that these are books that you have to get to. And the other one is to look at it as a personal library, that you have a library of books to choose from and you can go to your shelves and you can look and find the perfect book for whatever mood you're in at the moment. And I have to say, I actually sometimes waver. Maybe it's the Libra inside of me. I'm always trying to balance those scales. But I often sort of waver from one side to the other, where sometimes I'll feel a little panicky, like, oh my gosh, I have so many unread books and I need to get to them. And then other times I'm like, it is a glorious personal library and I love having all of these books around me and I love having so much choice available. And yes, So I can go back and forth. It really just depends on how I'm feeling at the time. I sometimes feel when life feels overwhelming, then those unread books start to feel overwhelming. And when life is going smooth and everything is calm and quiet, then I feel like having my books around me is just a luxury that I enjoy. I just thought I'd share that if having a lot of unread books is something that maybe stresses you out or doesn't stress you out at all. And I'd be very curious if you know where you fall on that spectrum, or if you're somewhere in between, or if you bounce back and forth a little bit like I do. But I just thought that was an interesting way of looking at your shelves, and I hadn't really thought of it in those terms until I had heard somebody talk about it that way. And so I just found that really fascinating. But let's get into what I am going to be doing for my personal TBR challenge. First of all, I'm going to give you some statistics about the books that I have that are unread. And I'm a little bit nervous to share these numbers with you. Obviously, these numbers are a bit of a moving target because I'm always reading things and checking things off of my unread shelf and my unread list. So where I end up at on January 1 of 2025 is probably going to be slightly different than where I am right now. But I just thought I would share with you all kind of what my stats are looking like. First of all, I mentioned in one of my other videos, I have been very busy inputting all of my books into the Book Buddy app. And I really like this app because it allows you to keep track of your personal library and where those books are physically in your home. And that is just a fantastic feature. And I can't think of another app that's like a book tracking app that does that in exactly that way. It's not really a review site. I mean, you can give books a star rating, which I've sort of done if it's something I've read, but really I'm just doing this to keep track of my personal library so I can see how many books I've read, how many books I haven't read, where are they. You can also mark in there if you've loaned books to somebody and who you loaned them out to. And I just think it's kind of another good resource for keeping track of your books, the books you personally own. As a result, I have been slowly tallying up my books. Now, I haven't finished inputting all of my books into Book Buddy yet. I'm getting closer. I think I have a total of about almost 800 books. That's read and unread books in Book Buddy so far. And of those, about 396, I believe, is where I'm at right now, are unread. But I have a few hundred more to go to get them all into Book Buddy. So I think, I want to say I'm probably going to end up around 600 unread books. That seems like a lot, you guys. That is a lot. I'm not going to lie. That's a lot of books that I haven't read that are on my shelves. Those are all the physical books that I have on my shelves that I have not read. And then I also tallied up the books I have on my Kindle that I haven't read, and I have 90 unread books on my Kindle, which actually isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I only have like 140 books total on my Kindle, so I've read about 50 and have 90 left, so I'm okay with that. And then I also tallied up the audiobooks that I have both in my Audible account and my Libro FM account. I don't currently have either of those accounts active right now. I think I have 1 credit remaining on Audible to use, which I will probably use before the end of the year. Or maybe I'll save it in case I need something to listen to when I'm curbing my book buying next year. So in Libro FM, I have 21 unread audiobooks, and in Audible, I have 25 unread audiobooks. So yes, so I have 46 unread audiobooks, or unlistened to audiobooks. Those are all of the statistics for my books, my unread books. That's a lot, you guys. That's like almost 750 books. What else can one say? And I have had some of these books on my shelf for so long, so very long. And I would really actually love to get to either reading some of those books that I've had for 10 plus years unread, or trying them and then getting rid of them if they're not a book that is still something I want to read. And certainly I've had different periods of my life where I have certain types of books that I'm drawn to that maybe I'm just not drawn to anymore, and those just aren't books I want to read. And I don't think any of them is a book that I couldn't track down again in the future if I suddenly had a desire to read it. And so I'm definitely going to be doing some unhauling of books, I do believe. I think I'm going to try a chapter, maybe monthly, I might do. So I'll have some of those videos coming out, but I really would like to kind of weed out, especially those books that I've had for a really long time and just haven't ever picked up. And I've done a couple of try chapters, and I've really found that an effective way to unhaul some books that I don't want to have on my shelves anymore. So stay tuned, more to come on that in 2025. Now, here are the parameters I've set for myself. I have to take a deep breath because I'm hoping I can stick to these. I'm not 100% sure I can. I need you guys to keep me focused and keep me motivated and keep me on track. So this is why I'm putting out this video. So I'm hoping we can all cheer each other on and help us stick to our goals. So my first goal is I must read 3 books off of my unread shelf before I can purchase 1 more book. And I'm not saying that that's just liberty to buy another book just because I've read 3 books off my shelf. But if I have read 3 books off my shelf and then there's a book I really want, or I'm going to buddy read something or do a group read, or maybe we're going to read something on my channel, whatever the case may be, or maybe other booktubers are doing challenges and there's a book I want to read. I don't want to say, no, I'm not going to buy any books, because I know myself. I'm a book lover. I'm also a lover of book buying and book shopping. Like, I enjoy looking for books and finding new books to add to my shelves. So I can't cut that out completely, but I really want to like rein it in this year. So 3 books off my unread shelves equals 1 book I could possibly purchase. Then, because I still want to utilize my library, I love the library as well. I've always been a library user, so I don't want to say I'm not going to check out library books, but I will need to have read 2 books off of my unread shelf before I can read 1 library book. And I'm hoping this will also help if I'm doing things like buddy reads, group reads, different kinds of challenges, that I could get those books from my library. That would be fantastic. And then if that is a book that I really ended up loving and want to have a copy of it for my personal library, then I'm not adding to my unread shelf. I'm just adding a book to my home personal library, because I'm not counting rereads towards any of this. So if I reread a book, that does not count towards my 3 books read, 1 book to be purchased. That is just a separate thing altogether. Because, you know, obviously the books I've already read, I know I love them, I've already read them, and reading them again shouldn't count toward my unread goal, obviously, right? That makes sense, yes? Okay. And then, again, because I'd like to get through some of the audiobooks that I have that I own, I am going to try reading or listening to 1 of my owned audiobooks before I listen to an audiobook I check out from the library. That seems fair. Unless it's a book I own that's on my unread shelf and I've decided I want to listen to the audiobook and my library has an audio copy of that book, that doesn't count, because technically I'm reading it off of my own unread shelf, and I'm just utilizing the library's audiobook. So that would be the exception to that rule. I hope I'm not making this too complicated. Is everybody following along? I think it's pretty clear so far. And then I would also really like to read 1 Kindle book per month. I'm not drawn to reading books on my Kindle. I just love holding physical books. I love the feel of books, you know, turning the pages. My brain just takes in information better that way. And there might be books on my Kindle that maybe I could find a library copy to read so that I could read the physical book, even though I could technically then check it off of my unread Kindle books. I have done that sometimes because like I said, I really do like to read physical books more than ebooks. And it's not that I won't read ebooks, it's just my preference is to read physical books. But I still would like to make a little bit of a dent in my unread Kindle books. Also, Dean Street Press needs to stop putting out free Kindle books of their titles because I keep putting them on my Kindle now that I've discovered that. So if you follow Dean Street Press on Instagram or you're a member of their Facebook group, they almost every week, I think, have a free book on Kindle. So does that count as buying books? Yeah, that totally counts, right? I can't do that. That would totally negate me reading a Kindle book a month if I just kept adding Kindle books every week. No, we're not going to do that, Jen. Okay. Get it together. And then the ultimate goal. So all of these sort of task-oriented goals that I've just listed out are to get me towards my big goal next year, which is to make 2/3 of my total books read in 2025 will be off of my unread shelf. So if I read 150 books next year, which I'm not saying I will, but if I read 150 books next year, then 100 of them would be off my unread shelf. How amazing would that be? That would be fantastic. And not totally undoable. When I do my wrap up of this year, you will see I read more books this year than I have ever read in my entire life in a single year. And some of that I think has to do with just the mood I was in this year. I was really on a roll in terms of reading. And part of it was being a part of this lovely booktube community and just increasing the number of books I was so excited to read. And yes, it's just been lovely. So I've read a lot of books. I've read a lot of wonderful books this year. And but I digress. So we will chat about that once I wrap up my entire year's worth of reading. But that is pretty much all of the parameters for the Unread Shelves Challenge. Now I thought I'd take you on a quick little walkthrough of all of my unread shelves so that you can see all the shelves I have, which is much more than what you see right here, and what is on them, and just get a quick glimpse at the 600 or so unread books on my unread shelves. Let's take a look. And that is it for all the details of my 2025 Read Your Bookshelves Challenge. And I would love to know in the comments, would you like to participate with me? What kind of parameters are you going to give yourself to read off of your own unread shelves? And do you know how many books you have on your unread shelves? Is it as ridiculous as mine? Inquiring minds want to know. I would love it if you would join me and be part of the Read Your Bookshelves group, motivating, cheerleading, rah, we can do this team. So let me know again if you're going to join in on all of the fun. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button. And also, if you aren't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you as part of my bookish community. And I'll be back with another video very soon. Bye.